Welcome back to another class on the Treasures of Mishnayot. We are in Mishnayot of Perek Vav. Mishna Hey, this will be part 2 of the Shi'ur. The Mishnah begins, Berech al hayan shelefnei hamazon. If one blessed on the wine before the meal, comes the Kahati and he explains, Shata yan lefnei suda berech alav. If one drank wine before the meal and he blessed on it, Patar bina brachat hayan shel achar hamazon. You exempt the wine that you're going to drink after the meal from its bracha. She'enu tzarich levarech al hayan hamugash la'achar hasuda. You do not need to bless on the wine that is being served to you after the meal. Kodem birkat hamazon, before birkat hamazon. Kimosh she'ba'arnu lamala, like we explained above in the introduction, which was part 1 of the class. The Mishnah opens up with this statement. Point number 1. If a person blessed on the wine before the meal, this blessing that he blessed on the wine before the meal, it exempts the wine after the meal. But before Birkat Hamazon, we're speaking the situation when it's before Birkat Hamazon. Continues the Kahati and he says, in the Gemara they said, Lo shanu. Okay, so let me just tell you from over here, so definitely it'll be easier over there. Now, I want to show you like this. Point number 2, when was this taught? When was this rule taught that if you bless on the wine before the meal, it exempts the wine after the meal, but before Birkat Hamazon? When was this stated? When was this taught? That's only on Shabbat and Yom Tov, as we'll see. On Shabbat and Yom Tov, people had more time for themselves, or to themselves. So after they would finish the meal, they would sit down and just to have a cup of glass. Like we do today, to go ahead and have a cup of tea, they would go ahead and sit down and have a cup of glass of wine. So that's what comes to Kahat, and he tells you, and he tells us, in the Gemara they said, Lo shanu. When did we learn that the wine before the meal, that this wine before the meal that you blessed, it exempts the wine after the meal? When was that said? That's Eila b'Shabbatot u'b'Yamim Tovim. That's only on Shabbat and on Yom Tov. Why? Ho'il v'adam kovea sudoto al hayayin. Since a person, he establishes his meal on the wine, meaning like this. When a person has a meal, after he finishes having the meal, in his mind, after the meal, he wants to go ahead and have a cup of glass of wine. That's what he tells you over here. Since a person goes ahead and establishes his meal on the wine, and over here it says in the parentheses, and in his mind, he wants to sit after the meal and to drink the wine. When he blessed before Birkat Hamazon on the cup of wine, on that understanding, he went ahead and he blessed the blessing of Borei Pri Geffen. So let's do like this. A person blessed on the wine before the meal, we said it exempts the wine after the meal, but before Birkat Hamazon, when was this stated? When was this taught? Only on Shabbat and Yom Tov. Why is it only on Shabbat and Yom Tov? Since a person has more time to himself, he establishes himself to go ahead and drink wine after the meal. That's why when he's drinking the wine after the meal, why is the wine after the meal exempt? 1 second. Why is wine after the meal exempt from a blessing? Because initially when he blessed on the wine before the meal, he had in his mind that he's going to sit after the meal and he's going to have more wine. So that's why this blessing on the wine, when he blessed Borei Pri Geffen on the wine before the meal, is going to help him for also on the wine after the meal. And when is this good? Only for Shabbat and Yom Tov. Now point number 3, the Kahati is going to break down, he's going to tell us, however, throughout the other days of the year, which is not Shabbat or Yom Tov, when he is not accustomed to drinking wine after the meal, we're going to tell him in the same scenario, go back and bless another blessing. So we'll see now, it's going to be like this. One who blessed on a regular day, which is not Shabbat or Yom Tov, one who blessed on the wine before the meal, on a regular day, he has to go back and bless another blessing when he's having that cup of wine after the meal. Why? Since he's not accustomed to having wine after the meal throughout the year, so we're going to tell him when he blessed the blessing, Perek Geffen, he did it only for that cup. He never had this cup in mind also. That's why if a person went, let's say on a Sunday, he went and he blessed on a cup of wine before the meal. So since he's not accustomed to having wine after the meal, we're assuming that the blessing only goes on this cup. So that's why now when he's going to go ahead and he's going to drink another cup after the meal before Birkat Hamazon, we're going to tell him, you have to go ahead and bless on it. Not like case number 2 when we're going to tell him over there by Shabbat and Yom Tov, we're going to tell him not to bless on it since when he blessed, initially he had that kavanah that it should also work for after the meal. Okay. So let's see this one more time. Lo shanu, when did we learn שהיין שלפני המזון פותר את היין של אחר המזון? That the wine before the meal exempts the wine after the meal? אלא בשבתות ובימים טובים. That's only on Shabbat and on Yom Tov. הואיל ואדם קובע סעודתו על היין. Since a person establishes his meal on the wine, since he has time on Shabbat and Yom Tov, ודעתו לשב אחר המזון ולשתות. And in his mind, he wants to sit after the meal and to drink wine. He wants to relax. So therefore, וכשברך לפני המזון על דעת כן ברך. When he blessed before the meal on the cup of wine, he blessed it on that understanding that he's going to have more wine after the meal. That's what Rabotai. One more time. Blessing on the wine before the meal, it exempts the wine after the meal, but before Birkat Hamazon, only on Shabbat and Yom Tov. But on a regular day, if he's going to go and drink wine after the meal, he has to go back and say another blessing. All right, so that is part 1 in the Mishnah. Now, as you guys can see, we are moving to part 2. All right, so let's do this. This will be part 1. We'll see there's many parts to this. This will be part 2. Now we're moving to part 2 of the Mishnah. Okay. Okay, I don't know if I read the Kahati over here. Well, I said it over here, but let me just read over here also. Aval, however, Bishar Yomot HaShana, however, throughout the other days of the year, this case. Bizman she'eino ragil l'shtot yain la'achar hamazon, at the times when he's not accustomed to drinking wine after the meal, chozer u'mevarech al hayain shel la'achar hamazon. You're going to go back and you're going to bless on the wine after the meal. Like I explained, Rabotai, I just didn't read it inside, but I explained it over here. Why is that? Because this person is like one who changed his mind from drinking, and now he's beginning to drink another cup anew. Like this, Rabotai. Let's say I'm drinking here. Okay, I want to just try to explain to you what is the Kahati adding now. He's saying why is over here, why is basically this is together, why is this different than this? Why when it comes to Shabbat and Yom Tov, you're telling me the blessing on the wine helps for after the meal, but throughout the other days of the year, you're telling me that the blessing of the wine does not help for the blessing after the meal that I'm going to have wine. Why doesn't it help? So comes the Kahati and he explains like this. He says he's like a person that went ahead like this. Watch this. Imagine I said right now, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. I drank it and I say to myself, I no longer want to drink water. That's it. I no longer want to drink water. I made that, I finished the cup, I no longer want to have water. Comes my daughter and she says, Abba, I have water for you. Oh, wow. But I said to myself that I no longer want to have water. So therefore, when I'm going to go ahead and start drinking more water now, I have to go ahead and say another bracha. because I removed my mind from drinking water. But now that water came, I have to go ahead and say another bracha. Same concept over here. Comes to Kazi and he tells us like this. When you bless on a regular day on the wine before the meal, since you're not accustomed to drinking wine after the meal, it's as if you are taking off your mind from the wine that you're going to have after the meal. So therefore you have to go back and re-bless again, because it's as if you're beginning a new drinking cycle. All right, let's just see that one more time. However, throughout the other days of the year, at the time when you're not accustomed to drinking wine after the meal, go back and bless on the wine after the meal. It's like a person that he changed in his mind that he's going to continue drinking, and he begins to drink from the beginning. So that's what we're going to tell you like this again one more time. If you blessed on the wine before the meal on a regular day, and now you want to have wine after the meal, we're going to tell you go back and bless. Why? Because when you blessed on the wine before the meal, and you're not accustomed to have wine after the meal, we're going to tell you in your mind, you said that I'm only having this cup and I'm not having no more wine. So when you're coming again and having another cup of wine after the meal, it's like you're beginning a new drinking cycle. Therefore, we're going to tell you have to go ahead and bless another blessing of Borei Priya Geffen.